Thank you, Mr. Co-Facilitator. The Global Alliance for Incinerator Alternatives, GAIA, is a network representing more than 1,000 organizations from 92 countries, building a future that protects nature instead of turning it into waste. UNEA Resolution 514 already defines treaty scope as covering all plastics and associated pollution with no exceptions. Any omissions now will prevent the instrument from fully achieving its objective, and covering the whole life cycle of plastics from the extraction of raw materials until the end of life and associated pollution. Downstream measures on recycled content, EPR, waste management, emissions, and existing pollution will be unsuccessful without upstream regulation. The plastic crisis cannot be solved by waste management alone. It must be combined with production measures. The viability of reuse and recycling depends on guaranteeing safe inputs through bans on toxic and hazardous chemicals and polymers of concern, and controls on primary production to enable reuse and recycling to compete in a market currently saturated by single-use products. The feasibility of waste management relies on having measures that can deliver a phase down of plastic production to sustainable levels through clearly set out targets by specific points in time, compatible with just and safe planetary boundaries and the protection of human health. Similarly, controlling emissions and addressing existing waste and pollution can only be effective if combined with supply-side controls on quantities as well as types of plastics produced, with special attention to primary microplastics and sources of secondary microplastics. Treaty controls and implementation should be informed by principles of international human rights and environmental law, which could be referred to in the preamble. There is no need for a dedicated article on principles. UNEA Resolution 514 reaffirms the principles of the Rio Declaration, including public participation, access to information, liability and compensation, transboundary environmental justice, non-regression, and the precautionary and polluter-pays principles. Human rights must be central, including the rights to life and health, the right to a safe, clean, and healthy and sustainable environment, the prohibition on discrimination regarding this right, also known as environmental justice, the rights to freedom of expression, association, and peaceful assembly, including as they pertain to environmental defenders, the rights to education, information, participation, and effective remedies, the rights of indigenous peoples and traditional communities, particularly the right to prior informed consent and of redress and restitution for past harms as guaranteed by the Declaration of the Rights of Indigenous Peoples. A just transition must be guaranteed for workers, including waste pickers, and all communities, including indigenous peoples affected by the life cycle of plastics. Protecting future generations' right to a healthy environment requires respecting just levels for our planetary boundaries. Plastic contribute to weakening all planetary boundaries. Finally, the prevention principle is fundamental in environmental law. Unlike the traditional waste hierarchy, the zero waste hierarchy applies to materials across the life cycle and emphasizes reduction and design and highlights the importance of reuse and repair as well as environmentally sound waste management. The treaty must exclude dangerous plastic burning practices such as open burning, incineration, even with partial energy recovery, plastic to fuel, chemical recycling, co-incineration in cement kilns, and other boilers, given their harms to the environment, health, and the climate. Thank you.